Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we've got quite a few interesting updates on the Cybertruck. We've also got news on Texas, Fremont, and China, and a handful of other interesting updates as well, so we'll get right into it. Quickly looking at the stock, Tesla down 3.2% today, another tough day, closing at $225.60, while the NASDAQ also down today, 1.15%. All right, getting into the Cybertruck updates, there have been a handful of car carriers that have been spotted with Cybertrucks on them in the last 24 hours. First one here posted by SA Warren 08 on Reddit. This was a Cybertruck car carrier that stopped in Arkansas at a Hilton hotel for some reason, and this person went out and got quite a few shots for us. Thankfully, looks like about 18 photos here, so I'll kind of scroll through those as we're talking, just hit some of the highlights. Interesting wrap on the front, maybe suggesting this vehicle has been used for some crash testing or something, which we'll reference in another photo, but just kind of taking a look at through some of the photos. Can see a little bit of the shot of the interior, the wheel/yoke combo that we have seen previously, a little bit more on the center console, that maybe a different angle than we've seen before. Kind of interesting to see the seats wrapped, if this is a vehicle that's being used for crash testing or something like that. Another shot of the wheel, and you can see what the dash is currently looking like. Looks like maybe Alcantara or something like that. That type of material versus the prototype. Obviously we saw the sort of marbleized dash, or faux marbleized dash. Get a little bit of a look at the pedals, the cell phone charging area, and this is then behind the vehicle, so you can see the standard sort of tow connectors there, tow hitch as well. Kind of flip through these, some shots of the suspension, the wheels, and then we can see in one of the windows there was a little note, completed crash, completed crash ready, something of that variety. So again, maybe something relating to crash testing. A little bit more under the vehicle, shots of the wheels, tires, stuff that we've seen before, but interesting. And again, obviously there were multiple of these Cybertrucks on this car carrier, I think 3 apiece. So you can kind of see them there. And then outside of the ones in Arkansas, there's also one posted by William Grassman on Twitter showing a handful of Cybertrucks on a car carrier in Arizona, so opposite side of Texas, apparently going eastbound, which would be heading towards Texas. If you look at the map here, we can see Arkansas, obviously over here. Where are we at on Arkansas? I don't know, somewhere in this area. Yeah, right there. And then for Arizona, of course, over here, and heading eastbound would be heading more towards Texas. So the Arkansas one seems to be maybe along the route. Some people were speculating maybe up to Ohio. I think there's a crash test center there that maybe these vehicles could be en route to from Texas. And then I don't know, maybe these are test vehicles from the Fremont area that are then making their way over to Texas for some reason. But interesting that just kind of all in the span of one day, we're now starting to see a few car carriers that have had Cybertrucks on them. A couple others were spotted that maybe are related to this Arkansas one that were en route, or that were kind of in transport along the same road as well. So interesting to see this, exciting to see this. Hopefully, we start to see more of these with these Cybertrucks moving around. I definitely think is a good sign, and just kind of gives us a sense for how many now that Tesla has produced in total. Now, other update on the Cybertruck, Joe Tegmeyer in his drone flyover videos of Texas, either yesterday or today, saw the Cybertruck out and about driving around, and kind of a cool little capture here of the Cybertruck doing a U-turn, which we'll see in a second. This is sped up a little bit, so just keep that in mind, but you can see the tight turning radius that the Cybertruck has got here, which is pretty fun to see that type of a turn demonstrated. So obviously benefiting from the 4-wheel steering with that tight turn radius. So cool to see that, and I'm glad Joe was able to capture that on the Cybertruck as well. All right. Sticking in Texas, we do have an update from Texas relating to one of the topics we talked about yesterday, the NEVI funding. And this is, Texas has now approved their plan, which we had previously talked about, to require NACS charging to be included on proposed locations, proposed projects for federal funding from the NEVI, $5 billion cutout from the infrastructure law. So to get those funds for Texas, they'll have to have NACS connectors, which was previously proposed, but now approved. Texas is the biggest recipient of the $5 billion that this will amount to over the next 5 years. And it's going to be about $408 million or so over the next 5 years for Texas. So like we had talked about yesterday with Pennsylvania and with Maine, that was about 24 different projects in total, maybe a total of $3 to $4 million for Tesla. But with Texas, this is going to be most likely even bigger. And even for the projects that then don't have Tesla, or that Tesla doesn't win, they'll have to have the NACS connector, which will be, I think, really exciting for Texas and should go a long way in terms of future-proofing this as we see the sort of charging war between NACS and CCS play out over the next few years. So Texas, by requiring this, I think much more forward-thinking and future-proofing than the states that don't do this. So Washington has talked about doing this. We'll see if that happens. Kentucky has already mandated it. Florida says that they're going to do it, but only in the following year after the SAE is done reviewing it. So some trends starting for states which can layer on additional rules and requirements on the federal funding. So good to see that, and that was unanimously approved on today by Texas. Unanimously approved today by Texas. So good to see that. All right, moving on to a couple of updates from China. Tesla has started to discount inventory Model S and Model X vehicles from anywhere between 50 to 70,000 RMB. So that's about $9,500 on the high end of the range. You can go into the inventory page on the China website and see the price adjustments for each vehicle. As I hover over here, you can see that for these couple happens to be the higher end at that 70,000 RMB. So like we talked about, we've seen the introduction, lower pricing for the S and the X with the standard range in the United States. Now Tesla adding some lower pricing or incentives in China as well. And then also out of China, we talked yesterday a little bit about, or mentioned yesterday, that there continue to be Highland rumors. Some more of those today. Model 3 Highland reported to be available within 15 days. Some stores quietly taking reservations for Highland. I don't know how much stock to put in these, so we're not going to go in super in detail. Because again, some of these have started to conflict a bit, so it's really tough to know exactly what exactly from these rumors or the reports that's coming through is true. So again, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Sounds like there's maybe some action, so hopefully that gets clarified over the next couple of weeks. And then over to Fremont, Matt got in the wilderness with his drone flyovers there, has spotted, looks like Tesla doing some pouring of concrete. Speculation that this could be for an additional casting machine. Obviously, they need very secure foundation there for those machines, which the speculation is that this could be. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully, this person will go out there and continue to monitor the progress and share that as well. All right, quick update from Elon on FSD. If you have been following Elon on Twitter and his actions with in regard to the potential Mark Zuckerberg fight, you may have seen earlier this week he had talked about doing a live stream with the latest version of FSD over to Zuck's house and trying to fight in the octagon that he apparently has in his backyard, but Zuck was not in town, allegedly, so whole story with that. But anyway, that live stream of the newest version of FSD did not ever happen. Tesla Economics on Twitter asking about that, and Elon saying that would be next week that live stream would happen, so something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, we've seen teasers like that before that haven't come to fruition, so not holding my breath on that, but definitely would be exciting if we do see that sort of a test live stream of FSD version 12, which of course would be more fully end-to-end neural networks. All right, next we've got an update on New York City. They have made a proposal that would require all rideshare vehicles, so taxis, limousines, things of that nature, to be in the... Sorry, I just got a little distracted there. All these vehicles to be emissions-free by 2030 with a small carve-out for wheelchair-accessible vehicles by 2030. So either emission-free or wheelchair-accessible. So this is just a proposal right now. This would represent about 4% of total emissions in New York City. So it's a pretty significant chunk if this were to happen. Of course, hopefully that sort of naturally happens over time anyway. But the, I think, exciting part of it is that this does happen in phases. So in the current proposal, they would, for example, require 5% of this total fleet of vehicles to be compliant, be emissions free or wheelchair accessible by 2024. Then 2025, 15%, so on and so forth, up to 100% in 2030. So it'll be interesting to follow that, that proposal, see if this does go through. There's going to be a public hearing on this on September 20th, so still probably a while before we see if this does actually go into effect. All right, the next couple of things, just a quick update on Tesla and SpaceX and their efforts to help out, obviously, the pretty devastating situation in Maui and Hawaii. So we haven't talked too much about that at all about that on the podcast, but I'm sure people are aware of what's been going on there. Elon posting today that Tesla and SpaceX / Starlink doing their best to be helpful. So definitely really glad to see that. A little bit more information from Starlink as well. They've already provided 650 kits to more than 40 organizations at Maui to help with this, because communication networks there obviously have been impacted by those fires as well. So definitely glad to see that, and hopefully that helps with those recovery efforts significantly. And then also relating to SpaceX, we're getting closer to a Starship launch on a second orbital flight test. So really exciting. We'll keep an eye on this, but the U.S. Coast Guard has issued a local notice that there could be a rocket launch as early as or no earlier than August 31st. Generally, this is a date that is going to get pushed back, so this is probably the earliest that this could happen. I think the SpaceX also filed their mishap report with the FAA, which is also another positive step towards a potential second launch. So some action happening here. This, again, it's a no earlier than date, so it's probably going to get pushed back. But we are definitely getting closer to that second attempt, which is extremely exciting. So we'll keep an eye out for any updates on that. Perhaps less exciting, but still exciting. Tesla has added some new merchandise to the Tesla shop, the ludicrously cozy throw. This is a roughly 6x4 foot blanket that Tesla has added. I think they added one of these during the holiday season as well. But another new item up there in the Tesla shop for those that are interested. And then the last couple of things, CATL today had the announcement that we had talked about either late last week or earlier this week that we knew was coming. And this was their introduction of a new lithium iron phosphate battery, which they sort of headlined saying that it could charge up to 400 kilometers or 248 miles in 10 minutes. The statistics there is really a 20 to 80% state of charge. Obviously, as most of us should know, the exact miles that equates to is going to depend on the vehicle. So for a vehicle like the Cybertruck or Model X, that's going to be fewer. For a vehicle like the Model 3, this would obviously be more. So CATL probably picking obviously the best case scenario in this headline number. So they do say the mass production of this battery is expected by the end of the year, with EVs first hitting the market in the first quarter of 2024. So what that means for Tesla, obviously we don't know, but could be some updates to Tesla's LFP batteries that they are sourcing from CATL. And then lastly, the Jaguar I-Pace, once hailed as a Tesla killer, of course, is being discontinued. It's going to retire in 2025, or at least by 2025, with Jaguar preferring to start with the clean slate with their sort of next generation or next lineup of EVs. So just retiring and discontinuing the I-Pace at that point. So obviously, by the end of it, it's going to probably be a very significant money-losing product for Jaguar. But if that can help them with their next generation and they can learn lessons from that, hopefully they will. Then it's a stepping stone, albeit an expensive one. All right, that'll wrap it up for today then. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on X at Tesla Podcast. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday, August 17th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.